Okay, everybody. Listen, so we have this New York Post article, how to order at a restaurant if you're trying to lose weight. This is the name of the article. Bryce, you read the article.
Yeah.
Why don't you break down what it means to us?
Yeah, so they tee it up by just saying on a diet but still want to eat out, expert reveals what to order at a restaurant if you're trying to lose weight. So I think we probably look at this like, hey, maybe not so much a diet, but just are you eating out and what is your relationship with that and how do you stay on track with your goals? So it just bullets out a couple things to think through. So the first one is swap French fries for a side of veggies. So I think the first concept is really, what are you feeling? And then is there a swap that you could do and still have the same experience and have a healthier outcome? Go lean with protein. Rethink your drink. I like that. Little rhyme there. Rethink your drink. Then we're touching on dine out for lunch instead of dinner. And so really what they boil that down to is it's a portions thing, saying that often portions for lunch are smaller than dinner. And then order a veggie soup as your first course and ask for veggies with a dip and visualize portion sizes. So if we had to kind of boil that down, it's what types of choice are we making? So what protein am I getting? What typically would come with eating out that would maybe be an unhealthy side that's pretty common? That's probably why they swap this for French fries, right? And then also they're talking about portions. So to me, when I read this, as someone who doesn't go out a ton to go out to eat, it's just I'm cheap. So it's not, we're getting groceries, but I'm thinking this really just seemed to me like tips for eating healthy all the time. And this is maybe more about for someone who does go out to eat frequently, whether they need to for work or that's just something that is part of their lifestyle. What's my relationship with going out to eat? Because all these health tips were the same things for me when we're in the kitchen at a house is kind of how I was looking at it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's one of those things too, where are you having to do it consistently for work or are you just trying to make better choices when you're going out to dinner with your friends?
Yeah.
I went out to lunch the other day with a couple of coworkers because we had celebrated finishing a course that was implemented at Burn Boot Camp, Burn Leader U. I'm officially a certified leader. But at lunch, I had asked for the sandwich basically in a wrap. And she was like, no problem. Well, it came out in a bun. And I said, well, not a big deal. Just take the bun off, still eat it just the same. And there you go. Like I was wanting to opt for the healthier option and it made it even healthier because it came out in a bun. But it's just one of those things where it's like, is the bun really like making this meal for you? Probably not. So you can opt out on that if you really want the fries. I think it's also just understanding when you want to have a little bit of that like thing and indulging in it as opposed to always saying, well, I'm eating out. I always have to eat healthy. And then that's where like a binge eating cycle comes in. So if you want some sweet potato fries, have some sweet potato fries. Just take the bun off of your burger or your chicken sandwich. And I think it's just the little things. It doesn't have to be revolutionary when we go out to eat.
Yeah, I agree with that. That kind of brings me back to one small wins and focus meetings. One of the best pieces of advice that Ashley Hearn ever gave me was hunger often shows up when you're thirsty. And I thought that was such an interesting thing. And I had recognized that I had not been hydrating my body properly. So her recommendation to me was every time you go out to eat, or even when you sit down before lunch or dinner, have a full 8-ounce glass of water and then reassess your body. Like, are you really so hungry and starving and you need to overeat, or were you genuinely thirsty? And that has stuck with me. And now even when my kids are like, I need a snack, I'm like, hey, let's take a beat. Let's drink some water. Of course, I'm going to feed you. But that allows for, I think, me to not binge eat or overeat or to crave those choices that aren't as healthy, because I do find myself, I love a good French fry. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But I find myself that when I hydrate, I crave the salty foods less. I crave the sweet foods less, which are my weaknesses. And so when I'm focusing on hydration and then always prioritizing protein, that's like my biggest thing that I do it when I'm planning around a meal, even at home cooking or when I go out to eat, I'm always like, okay, what's my protein choice first? And then I build my meal around that. That's just how I function. But when I'm hydrated, not that I'm less hungry, I'm just less cravey, I think.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of that really quick, with the protein, like starting with hydration first.
Yeah.
And then after that, like if you do order something, knowing that you did want the fries, have your protein option first.
Yeah.
Eat that first. So then it's like have some water, then have your protein, and then go for the carb at the end, because you probably will find that you won't eat as much of it.
Exactly.
If you're eating them first.
Yeah. No, 100% agree.
What I hear you both saying, which I love, is just stopping, between having a thought, like an impulsive thought, and then actually taking the action.
Yeah.
The yogis call that the great gap. And really what that is, if you were to put it in normal everyday terms, that's where self-awareness resides, between the thought and the action. So if I can go out to dinner and I can say, ooh, I'm about to have the whole bottle of wine and the bread and the 3-course meal, well, that's 7,000 calories or whatever right there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that thought isn't my thought. I don't have to own that thought as if it's mine. That's what most people think. That's what most people, they want to feast when they go out to an environment where feasting is, everybody else is doing it. So if that's not your thought, everybody has that thought. So the self-accountability comes in when you're aware enough to realize that that restaurant that you're in, it has a kitchen. Like my brother-in-law, John Paul, is a great example of this. This man eats nothing but 2 grilled chicken breasts at every restaurant we go to.
Wow.
I've never seen him order anything different. It's 2 grilled chicken breasts, and he's got it down to a T. He says, I don't want anything off the menu, please. What I'd like to have is 2 grilled chicken breasts with no salt, no oil, or no additives of any kind, just 2 grilled chicken breasts. Would the chef be able to do that for me?
Amazing.
Right? Every single time. And I'm not saying that you have to be that extreme. I'm in awe of his accountability around that. But I am saying that's a decision that he made. And then now this is available to him everywhere he goes. Right. So a lot of times we'll use the backdrop of the environment or something external outside of ourselves, rather, as a reason why we take the action, when really we should have went inside and we should have went inward and say, hey, do I really want to take this action? So that's where the gap comes in. If you can just pause, like you guys are saying, between the thought and the action, and insert awareness of, hey, maybe I just do need some water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, and okay, now am I hungry? Oh, maybe I'm not as hungry. Well, I'm still a little bit hungry. Okay, well, maybe I should try some grapes next instead of like the whole bag of Chips Ahoy that's in there, you know?
Yeah.
And you start just slowing down the game a little bit. This happens in sports all the time too. The thought versus the action. The people that can slow the game down, as a lot of our coaches used to say to us, that person has a thought, and then between their thought and their action, there's time to assess what's going on around you. And it's not thought, action,
Yes,
because then you're out of control.
Yeah.
You don't have any control. There is no self-control if there's no self-awareness. And so the kitchen is everywhere. It will follow whatever decision you make. There's always a Whole Foods. There's always a Chipotle. There's always a place. Even if you go to Chick-fil-A, there's always a salad. It may not be the best salad. You can argue against that, right? But there's always something that's better for you than what you chose. You can't argue against that.
Yeah.
So that would be my take on everything that they're saying in this article. And I love the little tips and everything, but you guys know my style. It's much more about the inner world and the 4 walls of your mind that really lead to making those decisions or those selections rather than the selections themselves.
Yeah.
For me, planning is important too.
Yeah.
Because if I know that I'm going out, I try to stick with like the 90-10 rule. And so if we're going out and I know I've got 2 places to go out, I know, can I have a burger here? Because the other 90% of my week, I'm not. And that's just a personal way that I look at it. If I go out and I'm going to buy something off a menu, I want to enjoy it, but I'm not having that through the rest of the week. This is the place where I'm doing that. So kind of taking a week's view to say, okay, what do I got going on? And then how do I abide by this 90-10? It can look many different ways throughout the week. And if that looks like having a cheeseburger with the bun, DJ, sometimes that happens, and I still end the week feeling pretty good. And, it works for me.
It's all about balance. For sure.
Have you ever seen Steve Jobs like in multiple photos lined up next to each other?
No,
and
I
you
can't
notice
say. Can't say
he
that I
always
have.
he always has the same clothes on.
Oh, well, that,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's kind of famous for that, right? He always has the black turtleneck and the jeans on.
Yeah.
And this is a metaphor because the reason he did that was because he had to make so many decisions every day that he just needed to make one decision to cover thousands of decisions. So he never have to choose what to wear again. That's a metaphor for what you can do when you go out to restaurants. Speaking of like no bun,
Yeah.
you can go to a restaurant and you can be somebody that says, when I order, I never get a bun.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to ever make the decision at every time you go out. You just know you're getting that double cheesy with no bun, right? And you're going to get a little sauce to dip it in, and you're going to feel good about it because maybe it's not the most healthy thing, but it's healthier than the choice that you would have made. And you'll be proud of yourself for that, and you'll uphold your promises to yourself of like wanting to be healthy. And that's good for our mental health as well. So thank you, Steve Jobs, for the turtleneck metaphor.
Yeah, because you can't forget the sauce.
Yeah, sounds like you guys don't like bread. I don't know. I mean, gosh, a good bun, a little Hawaiian roll or something like that.
A nice warm baguette with like a little olive oil and pesto. Chef's kiss.
10%.
I love bread, but I'm definitely more of a sauce person. So if I'm choosing between the two, I'm opting for sauce
Same.
over bread. That's my
I'm a
my
saucy
choice.
gal.
Blanched flour for every one piece of blanched flour loaf of bread that you eat, you take 3 days off your life.
So I'm going to be like, I don't know.
That is, I don't know if that's true or not. That's not true.
Listen, if it's my time, it's my time.
It's going to be a fun
GPT.
85 years, though. That's
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Any other tips on when to eat out? Do you have to go to restaurants because of their healthy options? Do you choose healthier options throughout the day, knowing you have something coming up because you may eat unhealthy? What other conscious like decisions have anybody else made while we still have like 1 minute left?
Well, I know for me, especially when it comes to work, knowing like if it's quick service, right? So we're talking about kind of sitting down and that experience. But as someone who does travel for work quite a bit, especially Monday through Friday, I don't want to get out of a good routine of eating healthy. Yeah. So knowing like what are the places that you can go where you know something that you like. For me, it's Chipotle. I see when I travel, I go to cool places and I see our gyms and I see Chipotle, and that's in the hotel, and that's about it. But even we have like some Greek, we have kava here, which is fantastic. Yes. You're just looking at rice, protein, veggies, that type of thing. And that's been helpful for me to just know, hey, I don't have to make that decision. I'm going to the gym. It's lunchtime. I'm going to Chipotle. I know I like something here, and I know it's a relatively healthy choice compared to what other choices I could make.
Yeah, I love that. I know you guys just did an episode recently about like on the go and snacks. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like when I travel for work too, I really make sure to prioritize my snacking habits to be really healthy because yes, I love Chipotle also, but I'm not the person who can eat the same thing over and over again. So while mad respect to you, I know that I might find myself in a situation where I may not be presented with the healthiest options. And while I can make conscious decisions while I'm eating out, if I'm prioritizing protein in my snacks or the healthier options in my snacks to maintain me throughout the day, I tend to feel better about that. And then I may eat a little bit less if I'm at a restaurant that maybe doesn't have the healthiest options. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know like when we were traveling all the time for breakfast, it was like, if we're driving through somewhere, it's Starbucks. They have egg bites. Again, it's consistent. We know that we can get 1, the coffee, 2, the breakfast. And so it's just like, again, it's taking the decision out of it. You know what you're going to be able to get there. And that's it.
Can I tell you where I've been to breakfast with this guy on the road? McDonald's. But you know what he says? I won't air you out here because this is a positive thing. You know what he says? Hey, he just goes off menu and says, hey, can you guys just give me a whole mess of eggs? That's what he says in the drive-thru.
A whole mess
and
of eggs?
Sometimes they're like, yeah, we can do that right away. Sometimes they're like, what? Because they've just never heard anyone say that before. But I don't think you've ever not gotten your mess of eggs.
Yeah, no, I like to do that from McDonald's. Yeah. That's what I mean, though. It might not be like the healthiest thing you could possibly eat in the world, but it's healthier than it's the healthiest thing in the environment that you're in.
Yeah.
Right? So I appreciate that. I thought that was going to go south.
No.
I thought you were going to talk about the one time that I smashed 3, what are those things called?
McGriddles.
McGriddles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the McGriddles. You know, we all have our moments.
Here and there.
People. We all
Our
have our
vices.
moments.
It's all about balance.